Hi, beautiful people. My name is John Green, and I want to welcome you to Crash Course World History. And today we'll talk about the wonderful word known as feminism. So, feminism refers to the movement created by women and held by women, urging for the collective goal of reaching equal rights amongst all men and women. So, when you hear the word feminist, what do you think of?
Feminists killed my father. Me and my dear papa were just out strolling in the park, tossing around a novelty flying disc, basking in the autumn sun. That's when they showed up. The feminists. One approached my father. They pointed at me, they pointed at him. They were yelling about how he was pushing his toxic masculinity onto me, how he was perpetuating the negative connotations that had been ingrained into society for so long. Now come on, love, I'm just trying to be a good father. Please leave me and my son be. Excuse me? She screamed at him in her shrill demonic tones. Love? I am not your love. She turned to the others. Get this cishet white male scum, my fellow women, she said. And that's women spelled with a Y, not an E. Oh. Let's push our poorly structured hatred of men onto this innocent and undeserving chap. They started to circle around and crowd him. Swarming and swarming, they engulfed him, yelling repeatedly and ever more loudly about the patriarchy, the wage gap, rape culture. I had never been so scared and heard so much misinformation in my whole life. And as fast as it had begun, it ended. They started to scatter, leaving only a canvas with period blood on it in the place where my father had once been. One of them threw a pink t-shirt to me. Beat the system, kid, she said. Break gender stereotypes. I would have shed a single forlorn tear, but I did not, as my father had taught me to be tough, to be a real man. Real men don't cry. I ripped the shirt in half. That was the day I learned the true horrors of feminism, of the empowerment of women. It only comes at the demise of men.
Yeah, you probably think of that, but that's actually an inaccurate depiction of feminism. The goal of feminists isn't to make women superior to men. Feminism is about equality for all, regardless of gender. This advocacy for women's rights began primarily in the United States. The movement was initially created due to the harsh discrimination women faced. In the beginning of civilization, everyone was equal. The main goal was to survive, so gender division was unnecessary. As they became sedentary, moving to agricultural-based forms of government, women were placed at the bottom of the social hierarchy. As politics and the military became vital parts of society, women were excluded. Their only purpose was to breed and tend to household duties. They were expected to be quiet, obedient, graceful, and loyal. In places like China and the Americas, texts were published highlighting attractive attributes of women, telling them how to behave. Unrealistic and frankly painful beauty standards were ingrained into their minds from a young age. They had to be perfect in every way, which at the time meant powerless and complacent. It is only recently that we have been moving away from such ideologies. Because men were placed on a high pedestal, they could participate in politics, have a career, and vote to their heart's content. Unfortunately, women were not granted the same privileges men had and were thought of as housewives instead. Eventually, people began to debate whether the subordination of women was necessary, thus causing the birth of feminism. So as I said beforehand, feminism primarily began in the United States with a little event we call Seneca Falls Convention. And guess where? Seneca Falls, New York.
Baby.
This important event that occurred in 1848 ignited the spark of feminism because it was the first women's rights convention where various female and other civil and social figures gathered for one collective goal, equality for everyone. The Seneca Falls Convention was originally organized by Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who were later known as the founders of the women's rights movement. At the convention, they would read the Declaration of Sentiments, a treaty similar to the Declaration of Rights, but instead it suggests equality regardless of gender. Because of its widespread popularity, the convention was now held annually. As time passed, the convention gained more supporters, eventually leading to the discussion of whether women should be granted the right to vote.
Mr. Green, why weren't they allowed to vote? Action.
Well, me from the past, it's because most men consider themselves to be intellectuals while women were incapable of making political decisions, and if they were to do so, they wouldn't be attractive. Women weren't the only supporters who helped the women's rights movement grow. Enlightenment thinkers such as abolitionists supported the idea of equality during the Enlightenment. Since they supported equality, enlighteners included not only slaves but women as well. As the women's rights movement grew, many milestones were reached. Of course, the first women's rights convention, which was held in Seneca Falls, New York, started it all with the Declaration of Sentiments and such. Remember the abolitionists? Well, Harriet Tubman joined the Underground Railroad and helped thousands of slaves escape to the North. Harriet Tubman had the help of people participating in the women's rights movement. Some allowed fugitives to take shelter in their homes and funded her cause. Not only did she free hundreds of fugitives, but she was also seen as a powerful female leader, which is why people want her on the $20 bill instead of Andrew Jackson. Let's be honest, I'm pretty sure most of us know more about Harriet Tubman than Andrew Jackson. In 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed, which granted women the right to vote. Furthermore, the Women's Bureau of the Department of Labor is formed to collect information about women in the workforce and safeguard good working conditions for women. A year later, the American Birth Control League is founded by Margaret Sanger. And that's it.
Let's go to the thought bubble. Let's discuss some of the greatest achievements feminists had reached, like the birth control pill. The invention of the birth control pill allowed women the freedom to control their own rights and body. Margaret Sanger, a supporter of the pill, personally experienced the consequences of unwanted birth. She witnessed her mother's death and noticed how she spent most of her life having 11 children and 7 miscarriages. Margaret then blamed her father for her death, saying, "You caused this. Mother is dead from having too many children." Margaret eventually flees Corning to work in a nursing school located in New York City. During work, Sanger witnessed women living in poverty. At that time, contraceptives were not fully developed, thus causing women to rely on unsafe, risky abortions. Because of her experiences, Sanger was determined to develop a working contraceptive for all women. In 1961, Sanger opens the very first birth control clinic and was quickly arrested. Then in 1921, Margaret founded the American Birth Control League and campaigned for better contraceptives. Although Sanger succeeded in her fight for better contraceptive designs, she wanted a contraceptive that was affordable and effective. In 1951, Margaret met Gregory Pincus, who agreed to create such a contraceptive. Eventually, the court ruled that the use of contraceptives was no longer banned. Then there's this 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment was also marked a milestone in women's history. Now, what is the 19th Amendment exactly? Let's take a look. Well, to be literal, the 19th Amendment states the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Fun fact, the 15th Amendment actually made it illegal to deny anyone the right to vote, but apparently it didn't apply to women. The 19th Amendment made it illegal to deny anyone the right to vote, including women.
One, two, three, action.
Some other honorable mentions are Alice Paul, Gloria Steinem, Betty Friedan, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Rosie the Riveter. Alice Paul was a women's activist in the 1800s who fought for the 19th Amendment, making various attempts to con former President Woodrow Wilson. She was also a fighter and was arrested for protesting against the White House. While in prison, she participated in hunger strikes and made many other women go along with her, as if they were dominoes while they sang during lunch. Paul Hughes caused an important event on the face of the second wave woman in the U.S. and helped get the 19th Amendment passed. Eleanor Roosevelt worked with the Women's Trade Union League and the International Congress of Working Women. Rosie the Riveter is another popular example in the poster that says, "We can do it," right here, and encompassed the female strength championed throughout the feminist movement during World War II to females. Wow, is it already time for the mystery document? Well, here we go. The rules are fairly simple. I find out who the person who wrote this is. If I get it wrong, I get shot, which is about 99% of the time. Let's see. After depriving all of her rights as a married woman, if single, the owner of property, he has taxed her to support a government which recognizes her only when her property can be profitable to it. He has monopolized nearly all of the profitable employments from those she is permitted to follow. She receives a scanty remuneration. He closes against her all of the avenues to wealth and distinction, which considers most honorable to himself. As a teacher of theology, medicine, or law, she is not known. He has denied her the facilities of obtaining a thorough education, all colleges being closed against her. He allows her in church as well as the state, but a subordinate position, claiming apostolic authority for exclusion from the ministry and with some expectations from any public participation in the affair of the church. Ah, I got this. The 19th Amendment, right? Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Scanty Stanton made it. Dang it! The Declaration of Sentiments? I was close enough. Kind of. So the Declaration of Rights and Sentiments was signed in 1849 by 68 women and 32 men. 100 out of possibly 300 attendees at this first women's rights convention signed the document.
Feminism is different. Feminist activists led to the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Women are seen as mostly equal politically and economically.
Mr. Green, what do you mean by mostly equal?
Well, younger me, there are some situations where women aren't seen as equal. Let's look at the workforce. Majority of the jobs you can get with a college degree pay women and men equally. However, jobs like computer programming pay women less compared to their male counterparts, even when they're both equally as qualified. Now that's unfortunate. In modern terms, feminism isn't just equality for women, it's also equality for men and for everyone under the intersectionality umbrella. People have become more socially aware of how men are treated in society. Phrases such as toxic masculinity arose in the 21st century, this being the toxic idea that men are supposed to act like men. You know, emotionless, aggressive, and all that toxic stuff. Wow, we've come so far in such a short amount of time, huh? What's this? Oh, it's the hashtag #MeToo movement, the movement where people who have been sexually assaulted share their stories in order to show that anyone who has been sexually assaulted isn't alone. Also proving that not only women are victims of sexual assault. Wow, if you think about it, we are living through history, as feminism used to be this white cis woman feminist movement primarily, but now has become a feminist movement on intersectionality. I wonder how feminism will look in the future. What do you think, little me?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm you from the past. Why don't you ask you from the future?
Well, back in my day.
Okay, that's enough for today. And don't forget to smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you respect women.